Lucky Boys Podcast.
Where does it start? Because it's like we all know that this car right here is fucked up. It's ran into a tree. We're all kind of looking at it and go, oh, we're kind of rolling the dice. We could get in it, but it could kill us. But it's better than walking.
But there's someone out there that profits from a destroyed car.
Right. The mechanic, right? So, but then we go, how can we fix this stuff?
Because the car company as well that gets a profit off the mechanic. They want to engineer cars that aren't perfect. It's like Batman. Remember when Bruce Wayne gets his suit and he asks Lucius Fox.
So you're saying this is part of an organized chaos?
The system is designed to be imperfect, and we have to fight constantly to make it better.
But with doctors speaking up, with patients speaking up, with everybody speaking up about
pandemic
this,
speaking up.
Right.
And they're laying off more doctors.
How is that even possible? That's insane.
Yeah. Why are they laying off doctors?
We also lived in a world where women were not allowed to vote, when black Americans were not allowed to vote. We had slavery, or enslaved people. Sorry. We had enslaved people. We enslaved people. We profited off of our founding fathers. I mean, it's been insane since the very beginning. And we always fought for progress. We always saw the problems in the status quo. And there's plenty of people out there who let it happen. We saw colonization and we saw apartheid and we saw genocide, and people just let it happen. And they said that was normal. We just went through 4 years of a presidency that people were dying without PPE. And it's like, oh, it's just the flu. And people say, hey, that's normal. And then to this day, they're saying that they don't believe it. And people don't believe in the Holocaust. So are you surprised? The system gains from imperfection, unfortunately. We have to find a way that it doesn't gain from imperfections. And that's what we fight for, to make it unsustainable for the people in power.
But each one of those cases, there were catalysts to address it. At some point in history, there was a spark that said, you know what? Slavery is bad. You know what? We can't allow this to happen, right?
Yeah. What's the spark? People had to die.
Look at
Anti-Asian
COVID,
hits,
right?
Anti-Asian hate. What did that take for that rally? People had to get shot, and that sucks. I don't want to live in that world. It's a tragedy.
Right.
But I hate to live in a system or a world that espouses a system where people have to die in order to have movements created. Why can't we be preventative? Why can't we not celebrate resiliency? Honestly, like, to me, I grew up with trauma. I credit to my resiliency to that trauma. I want my future loved ones and loved ones now to be resilient. But the issue is that why do we live in this world, in a system where we have to be resilient in the first place? Or maybe say that's life, you got to deal with it. But why can't we fight for a better world where we don't have to be so resilient that we have to die?
I think
young.
at a year 2021, we would have the common sense, right? But sometimes things that seem so common sense, there's just so many, I don't know if it's like dogmatism. I don't know if it's just people are so set in their ways and they're religious about it. And you got to jump through so many hoops where common sense just said, you don't really have to make a left, right, up, down. You can just go straight and get to your destination. It's that simple. But they want to overcomplicate things. And you say for money, but at some point, when are we going to look at it where it's impacting our lives? Forget about our wallet, but it's impacting our lives. And wouldn't it be more profitable as a society we get this right?
But we live in a world that's actually more like Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, where people are so distracted by social media and external stimuli, the next test, the next exam, and you got to do this and answer this Facebook message and who this is updating. They don't care.
There's a distraction.
To let alone even pay attention to the news, or even the news in a way, it's a kind of entertainment exploitation, where people
Trump proved that.
Where people can't even focus on what the things that matter. You're preaching to the choir here. But I'm not the representative of the majority, I fear. I think the majority is the Brave New World. People are so stunted in their set ways by habits and socializations. As a man, you have to do this. As a woman, you have to do this. As a trans or cis or black, brown, whatever, that you're expected to do this. And everyone's like, okay, because they want to stay safe. And, our parents do this to us to keep us safe. Great intentions. But the behavior has such a socialization negative impact on us that we start forgetting how to think critically and for ourselves and pay attention to what actually matters and play in the areas that we can make a difference in, until somebody we know dies, until somebody we know that we love leaves us, or we grieve a loss, a traumatic event that actually affords us the opportunity to then reframe everything and either get worse and spiral down to negative feedback, which is totally possible, or use it as an opportunity to reframe it as an opportunity to change your habits.
How about calling out the ones that are responsible? How about calling the ones out who have the power to do something?
Well, I think that's the thing. Like,
How about following
we
the money
can't really
trail?
identify. I mean, we have a general idea of who to call out, but I don't think like there's so many components to who's responsible for these things. We got the public who have, you know, their set ways, and then we have, you know, people in charge in their set ways. Like, who are we trying to target, right? Is it people? Are we trying to kind of get everyone together who's on our side, you know, tribalism, and then figure it out and just kind of target those specific groups? Because I don't think that's a huge battle, right?
But look at the age we live in. We live in such a cancel culture. Now we have something legit to go after.
But you're trying to cancel another group
you,
now.
you could be canceled.
You just
for
literally
canceling
say, who do
something.
we call out? Who do we call out? And I'm not against, it's not black and white. You can't be like against everything because you just did it yourself. But how are you going to call out someone if people are not unified on who to call out?
Here's the thing. I'm against letting people die for profit. I mean, that's pretty straightforward, is it not?
Yeah.
Right.
Some people don't care.
Some people don't care. Some people profit off of people dying. And that's unfortunate. Arms dealers. You would get rid of war. Do you know everything? A lot of industries would collapse. Do you really think that your taxes right now are going to stand to benefit education and all that stuff? If we all of a sudden got rid of war, they're going to find another way to profit war or defense budgets.
Do you think it's human nature to have war?
I think human nature is destined to be imperfect.
I think
to
it
get
goes
better from imperfect.
I actually think it's against our nature to just all have a peaceful society,
But
this
you-
utopian.
It's also human
kumbaya.
nature. It's also human nature to try to generalize human nature, which is impossible. You cannot generalize human nature. Everyone is different and then same at the same time. Some people just grow up wanting to destroy things. And the very people who destroy things are the ones that create opportunities for people. Some people just want to build things. Some people want to heal. Not everyone's supposed to be a doctor. Not everyone's supposed to, be an iBanker or do finance or be law. Everyone's different on the way. I mean, United-wise, I think people have a sense of self-preservation, but put in a different context or circumstance, that self-preservation could look like a murderer or someone trying to protect themselves.
Depend on which angle which vantage point you're coming from.
Or whatever circumstances.
Right.
How you grew up, with the trauma that you had with your parents that did onto you. There's mental health struggles, or just being a dick and you got drunk and you did a terrible thing, or you're at work. The people that even didn't do enough for your friend.
One day we'll get it right. We're gonna do better, because if you look in the past, even as far as 20 years ago, I mean, we've come a long way. A lot has changed, but yes, a lot does still feel the same. But it has improved. Would I want to go back 20 years and be there? Would I want to go back 30 years and live there? I wouldn't.
The secret to that is you have to accept the reality that it'll never be perfect and you'll never win. That's not the point of life. If you had everything and everything came perfectly to a utopia at this age in your life, you'd be bored out of your mind, let alone your own personal gain. If you had planned everything to the person that you want to be and everything happened exactly as they did, there's no point of living without anything to struggle for. So accept the fact in terms of activism and struggle that it will always be imperfect, but there's always room for you to create progress in the places you are, to leave a world a little bit better than how you left it, so that your children have something to fight for. I want my children to have something to fight for that is bigger than they are. If they have nothing to fight for, I fear for them. Because that's what gives the zest of life. Obviously, at the same time, I do believe in being, having that wellness and, self-awareness and be zen and let everything pass through you. But I also believe in the balance of, accepting things they are, but also fighting for what is right. There is a balance between the two. You're never going to be perfect. There's never be a good thing. And then go back to the previous argument with human nature. Do you know what the test is to determine if you're a good person? The one test.
No, what is that?
If you ask them a question, are you a good person? How they answer that. A truly good person is confident enough and humble enough to say no, because they know they're one step away from being a monster. They know that every one of us in this room and every human on this planet has a monster side to themselves. Put in the wrong circumstance, in a bad enough circumstance, they will access that monster, just like Hulk, just like Tony Stark, who gets self-absorbed and paranoid. Just like Captain America.
Takes one bad day.
Because they know that and they're self-aware of that monster and they are answering no, they are constantly trying to be good. And because that active effort to be good actually allows them after the fact, looking back, as Steve Jobs said, it only makes sense when you look backwards, that they've always stayed to be good because they know they're one step away from completely having a meltdown. The person who says, yes, I'm good, is the one that ends up getting too relaxed, kicks back, and then bad shit starts happening. And then people who will start laughing at work and who's just like, yeah, everything's cool, he's alive. You know, the good doctors are the ones like, anyone in a minute, they all gonna die. And I could totally be that guy who's gonna be laugh. So I gotta be on my A game because I am that guy that laughs at jokes in work when someone else is dying. Because they are the same people. I am that person. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I want to be there because I can feel like I'm giving that person. But then I will also do wrong by myself by even answering that way because I know that I'm capable of being that person. Therefore, that's why I act. I'm not sure if you understand. You're seeing this right now.
I'm grasping it.
Yeah.
I get it. And you're showing a lot of empathy for me and for your colleagues.
At the same time, without throwing anyone in the bus.
Right.
Because it's true. We're all complicated people.
It is very complicated and there's a lot to unpack there. But there is a formal way to behave.
Yeah, the standard of care.
And that's it. And that's all I'm saying.
But people move the goalposts of standard of care all the time, especially the people in power who can get away with
Right.
it.
And when that happens, I'm not afraid to speak up against it. So if that, especially if it's people I care about, I do not hesitate to fight for who I love.
Sure. And then, but when it gets to a point of the world where the time you fight for the people you love end up hurting other people that are loved by others. That's all the culmination of all the things that's going on in the world right now. People have really good intentions, but their behavior is hurting other people. How do you find a win-win situation? And people are just not willing to take the extra leap to find a win-win. There is a possible. I mean, my life, not knowing being a doctor or should I be a doctor, both seem mutually exclusive. If I did, damned if you do, damned if you don't. You literally said that. But now I found a way to be my own doctor, happy as I am, because I'm grateful to being a doctor. I'm happy that I did it, but only not because of what I did, but how I did it. And that gave me the understanding that it is possible. Only with a little bit more effort and self-awareness can you achieve a good intention and behavior to coincide. But a lot of people in a time of grief or a time of loss or a time when things are uncertainty, they just react. And then when they react, they start stepping on other people's toes, literally and figuratively, and hurting other people. And then they fight back, and then it goes back and forth. And it's like, you threw that, and then you basically, who started what? We don't know.